Good morning, everyone. I hope you enjoyed my dramatic opening. I'll come back to that shortly and explain why I've done that today. This is the fourth in our series of Fit to Bid workshops around helping you into the local supply chain with private and public sector procurers, giving you some of the skills and resources needed. It's backed by Wandsworth and Richmond Council and UK government funded. So here we go, rattling through. For those that haven't met me, here I am. I'm the program manager for South London, and I work and have worked with SME businesses to help them grow. What I look to do is try and just make a bit of cut through. A lot of jargon around this space. I'm hoping to demystify some of that and give you some really practical help and support. And a lot of what I do is around sitting in the opposite seat from where you are. So particularly the focus today is if you walk a mile in the shoes of that procurement person, how does that help you in a pitch process? Thank you for those that have dropped things in the chat about what they want to get out, particularly kind of maximizing your impact of a pitch. So here's the Brandwin process. It's around, where are we? We're on this bidding skills area. We talked about how to find tenders, treating tenders a bit like an exam or a class test that will have a marking scheme. We've talked about how to do your revision, your research. And today we're talking about what do you do when you get in front of that person to sell them your solution for their problem. This is really building up to the Meet the Buyer event. Oh, that's my mistake. I've left the old date in there. It was due to be the 2nd of October. So for those of you that haven't got the email, there was an issue with the venue. We've had to move it back to the 29th of October. I've definitely got the right date, and this slide pops up later in the presentation. But it's the 29th of October at the Exchange, part of Queen Mary's University in Twickenham. That's a really, really important part of this process, chance for you to get in front of people from procurement from various organizations and to book time with them, to give them your elevator pitch and to work out how they can help you into their organization. So who will be there on the 29th? So provisional lineup. We're hoping to extend this out. But remember, the key point is from Wandsworth and Richmond Council share back offices. So across their 10 or so departments and the 2 boroughs, there's quite a big network for you to target. So one of the things is looking for that procurement person, perhaps to signpost you into those various departments, as well as to get to know that procurement department itself. We'll have a number of large buyers there, including the people from Battersea Power Station, South Bank University, Roehampton University. We're hoping to have a couple of local hotels. There's some interesting hotel groups in and around Wandsworth and Richmond. And there are at least 2 St George's trusts, rather confusingly. There's the Mental Health Trust, as well as the Tooting-based trust. That's who we hope to have in the room. But as you can see, some really interesting and big buyers. And thank you those for dropping comments into the chat as we go. I will pick those up when I pause for breath at some point soon. So what's today about? So today is when you've written a perfect bid submission, you've got through, and you are in front of someone who's asking you to solve their problem for them. So here are the 3 big bits from this part of the process is what's really the objective here. Now, it may be to win the order there and then, or it might be you're in the semi-finals or the quarterfinals and you need to get through to the final. So really understand where you are in the process and what the context is. Sometimes the context, so the way you look at the pitch is, I need to do enough today to make it worthwhile for that person to put me through to the next round. So have a clear understanding of what the pitch is for, and also really think about what you want from the pitch. Is it that you want the order, or are you on a fact-finding exercise? Are you dipping a toe in the water, finding out more and seeing where it takes you, even if you aren't 100% convinced you necessarily are ready or want to do the work? Is it something where you are trying to find out if your innovative approach or different approach, if there's room and appetite for that? What do you want from the pitch, as well as understanding what the procurement person wants? And one of the basic advice around what a good pitch consists of is simply this. Again, like your document response, it's a well-structured conversation. And ideally, you want that to follow on seamlessly from what you've written down. And the last bit is to have a bit of a wow factor, a bit of something memorable. I've talked to a lot of the people in the one-to-one sessions about how you stand out, what makes you different, what's your yellow briefcase, what's the thing that go, yeah, we've got to speak to them again, or they're worth giving a go. And down the bottom, I think we've a number of you I've spoken to about the business model canvas, a book called Value Proposition Design, that helps you work out, get really clever on your value proposition and the benefits and so on that are within your proposition, how to shape that. But if you take that work, and we talked last week on the bid writing for public sector webinar about using a SWOT analysis on the tendering opportunity, and then taking that into a bit of an action plan. So those are your 3 steps to structure your pitch. So taking a step back, what is a pitch? Again, a bit of jargon, really. It's a conversation. It's a sales opportunity. It's either one of 2 camps, which is someone that you've built a relationship with online or in person. So that's technically known as a warm lead, a warm conversation. Or it might be someone you've never met before, in which case that's cold, and you need to work a little bit harder. So what are the various types of sales opportunity? When are you pitching? The one we've got is today's at the bottom of this list is about face-to-face pitching, which is typically one-to-one, or maybe you might get a small panel of 2 or 3. And it's a real opportunity to make a difference and to stand out. But if you do mess it up, and you don't get a bit of rapport and get your point across, then it will that's it. It's sayonara. And the key bit around that is so a particular time you'll see face to face is when you're actually engaging with procurement, when they're looking at the whites of your eyes and checking you out. So the other opportunities, if you think about using your printed materials, well, that's 1 to tens or hundreds. I know some of you will be leafleting local areas. The other way of doing that is when you've got a lot of footfall, so trade pitches, and then they're a useful piece of collateral to have, but they are, but you can see the fors and against there. Social media, likewise, you've got to be very consistent about social media. It can have a good social reach, but you've got to use that as part of a mix, and increasingly you've got to have a story to tell. Simply did some training on social media a while ago, and they likened it. Social media is a bit like a coffee shop or a pub, where if you walk up to somebody, you might buy them a beer or a latte, and if the first thing you say is, "Oh, here's your latte, and please buy my product," you're not going to have much of a conversation. It's about sitting down and saying, "Well, here's your coffee. What are you up to today?" Developing that relationship. So social media is very much further up the funnel. It's about helping people understand who you stand for, as well as what you do and how you do it, and how you make them feel as you're doing it. And then the one today for webinar, very interesting and actually quite efficient now. We're You can obviously record one, it becomes a stored piece of information. You can transcribe them, you can snip and cut and paste and use them into your social media. They take a bit of organizing. A lot has gone into crafting each of the slide decks for these webinars that come out of Brandwin's 15 years of doing this. So an interesting part of the mix. Today's about the face-to-face pitch. So let's keep cracking on with that. How do we help you with that? And I'm looking to do two things today. One is to give you some generic and broad-ranging advice about how to manage these opportunities. But of course, the second bit is we have that opportunity for most that are there on the 29th of October to, you got 10 minutes. How do you use those 10 minutes effectively with the procurement person to advance your agenda, advance your opportunity to get work from that organization? So what's a good pitch? For those that so I talk a lot about what's your story, what's the narrative is a bit of jargon, but this is around the story. Let me just pop all these bits up. So this is great advice, not for a pitch, but actually any sales environment, is you need to become a PhD in your client's problem. If you are able to research who they are, what they do, what drives them, what they're looking to achieve, and really understand that, you'll be able to shape your response to that. One of the ways of sort of reframing selling for those that don't like it, or I don't like forcing myself and pushing myself on people, if you reframe that as solving people's problems, then often that opens up, people go, yeah, okay, I get that. That's much easier for me to do. I can be more at peace with that. So if you want to solve their problems, you need to really know really well what who they are and what their problems are. So this has been about tell them what they want to hear. So it's a classic, particularly kind of smaller businesses are always on transmit. It's the 5 meter rule. If you're within 5 meters, you're fair game for me to sell to you, and you're ramming your problem or your product or your solution down their throats. This is the opportunity to really sit in the other chair and go, what do they need to hear? What matters to them? Not necessarily what I want to get out, but what helps make a difference to them. So so your value proposition, the thing about you that makes the difference, but using their language, their context, their frame of reference. And there is the weekly fire alarm, which will go away very shortly. Yeah, and it's gone. So really craft that and personalize it around them, what their council or what their company is looking to achieve, and make sure there's these little hooks. That thing about a headline, it's about what's the hook, what's the why, what's the key piece, and of course, trust is paramount. They need to have confidence. You need to be credible to them, because their job involves making a decision on whether you can deliver or not. So if you've got into a pitch situation, typically the tender document says you can deliver, and you've created a good basis for that and a good case. This is the point at which that's got to be brought to life, and that procurement person, that's how they get assessed. A piece of what they've done, it's their decision to press go or stop. So you need to make sure you can get across to them that you're capable of doing what you're being asked to do. And always rehearse. Never go in cold. Rehearsing is needs scheduled. If you don't have a ready audience, get your phone out and video yourself. Of course, you'll cringe. We all do. But listen back to yourself. What's your intonation like? Are you is your voice interesting? How are you using your body? Are you waving your hands around a lot like I used to? Or are you one of these people that likes to talk over their shoulders to the slides, which is always really dull when you got the back of someone's head to look at. you can only find out those things and improve them if you've seen yourself rehearse. So make sure you know your key lines, make sure you know the key points you want to hit, and rehearse those before you deliver. Not just what you want to say, but also anticipate some of their questions so you've got good responses to them. So here's the quick point. So we've got 3 exercises today. And with each of these, we'll take just a couple of minutes now so you can get going. But I recommend you come back to this and spend, get a cup of coffee, a matcha, a wheat beer, whatever your preference is. Just sit down and work your way through this. So what is your core service or product? And what's the thing about that that will add a bit of excitement? How can you frame that up? And what's your ideal profile? Whereas I was working with Magda on this. Now Magda's got a really interesting cleaning business, but she's got a real social soul to her business, and she's got a real sense of mission. Now the difference is what she does is pretty commoditized, so she needs to find a way of making herself different. Now, if we focus on her mission, which is to employ local women and who are at the bottom of the food chain and help them get some income, help them out of poverty. So her elevator pitch now involves, I do this for these kind of people, and our mission is to help 100 women out of poverty in the next 3 years. Suddenly you've got something that's a bit of interest, it's a bit left field, and she stands out from the other businesses doing what she does. So just take a moment now and think about that an elevator pitch is just a short 20 second 1 minute pitch, and it could be as little as a sentence. So think about who your customer is, what it is about what you deliver that has a bit of an edge, and how you describe what it is that you do. Okay. So thank you for doing that, and do come back to that. And it's a thing to hone. Some of you might have seen there's an interesting program called Key Person of Influence, and it's about developing your business out. And one of the 5 P's that they think is vital is this idea of a pitch. It's about having a short pitch, a 1-sentence pitch, a 2-minute pitch, and then a 10-minute pitch. And then ideally, maybe even a 20 minutes almost keynote deck where you could stand up at a local chamber of commerce and explain in some detail about how your business does things differently, what problems are, how you make a difference all the way through. So think about your pitch, narrow it all the way down. You can always add more on, but if you can get really clear about and succinct about that 1-sentence pitch, they'll stand you in great stead. Right, so researching ahead of a pitch. So if you know that you are going in to see procurement person Z at the council, then how do you understand a bit more about what's there? So your key around this research is to think of it this way: what would make them smile? If you're in procurement, you see a lot of people selling stuff. That's what the job is. You're reading a lot of rather dry documents. You're getting there's a lot of perfunctory stuff. So bring a bit of joy into their life. Just makes you stand out. So and part of that is just being interested in what they do, what they need. So if you can understand where they sit, what they get paid for, are they incentivized by lowest cost? Are they incentivized by most environmentally friendly, most sustainable? Are they innovation? How do they get rewarded? How do they get how much would you expect them to know about your particular product? So if you are sorry, just seeing the chat what there's a couple of things popped up. So if you're in the cleaning business, they'll procure lots of cleaning, so they'll have a pretty good idea about what it is, how it gets done. If you've got some kind of left field approach to reducing youth crime through the use of performance art, I don't know, then that's going to take a bit more explanation. And what's interesting there is about just simply understanding that makes you understand how cold or warm they are on the topic. So so what do they get paid for? Who's their boss? What do they get paid for? That probably works more in the private sector, where you've got sort of slightly different different factors at play. But certainly the values of the organization, the culture of the organization are pretty easy to understand and relate to. And if any organization is doing that well, those values and culture should sit in how they procure services and who they partner with to deliver what they need. So think about what do you do that would make a big difference to them. That's the key point here, is doing that research to just try and get to know them as well as you can. There we are. And if you can get them to smile a lot, that's better than getting them just to smile. And the flip side of this actually is, sometimes it's about upsides and how can you really help them, make them smile. Sometimes it's what really is a pain for them, what really worries them, what do they know is a huge weakness, or a risk, or something they really need to deliver on. Or maybe that you can help them make look so good that you can help them on inside their careers, if you can bring a lot of value. So it's how can you make them smile, how you help them sleep at night, keep their job, get promotions. All of these personal factors are things you should be thinking about as an additional layer of research if you can, particularly if you've got one of these sort of big opportunities. So I mentioned that book, the value proposition design, which comes from the Strategizer series, which has the business model canvas. Though those books in that series are great because they're really step by step. They're sort of crowdsourced wisdom, and they're really practical and useful to use. So here we've got a bit of of that canvas, which is the section on what's the issue here? What are we selling? Can we do it? Why would somebody want it? And can we make money out of it? Those are the three key bits. So it's so when you think about break it down in that level, it's not just about, well, I need to sell more of these widgets, or I need to have more buildings to clean, or I need to find more places to put down my artificial turf, or all of these, or sell more first aid courses, or but it's not just about what you want to sell. It's the value proposition is the whole package. So it's why people should work with you, why you solve their problem, and why you make it better for them. If it's something they can buy from anywhere, why choose you? And that's where the research comes in, to try and make sure that what you do and how you do it, you're able to convey that in the language of the buyer that's in front of you. And listen, if you're going after a £5,000 contract, you're not going to spend 4 years doing the research. But if it's a meaningful size of contract, it's worth putting the research in, and thinking about everything from their point of view, including the language that they use, and the context that they use it in. Typically in a procurement context, your chance to impress is one chance. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So if you can, when I first saw these slides, and make it good, if you can make it great, that's even better. Good is sort of table stakes. So make sure you're prepared and organized. We'll come on to talk about some of the simple things you can do. We're making very good progress this morning, which is great. Exercise 2, again, one you might want to go and not just think about yourself, but I would go back and either ask clients, or if you've got a friend, colleague, advisor, get them to ask a client on your behalf, Why did you choose them? What was good about them? What was bad about them? Go and get a bit of third-party feedback. It's really powerful, because what you think you brought to the party may not be what they really valued. It's a very interesting exercise. Sometimes it's about the you know, I can get X or Y anywhere, but these guys are really responsive, or they were really flexible, or I know I can trust them, or everyone that I meet from that organization is cheerful. There are things going out and asking clients and asking people you work with might tell you that you can add into your pitch. So it's called the Why Us challenge here, but what is that point of difference? Now, in the next couple of minutes, just have a little think about that. But certainly I would go away and spend a little time on this. As I say, perhaps rope in a mate, or you can find a fellow business owner and you go and interview their clients and they come and interview yours, and then you compare notes. That's another way of doing it. But this bit of what puts you apart, what is the one reason that a client should choose you, and how are you able to back that up? How are you able to explain that? What's the story around that? How have you delivered on that and built a bit of a service around? If you can't stand out in any way, the only way you can get judged is on price. Now, if the only way you get judged is on price, then it goes to the lowest. Obviously, we'll go to the lowest price. So now, if you believe that someone's able to price lower because they're not providing a series of other elements of the value proposition, then it is your responsibility to make that clear, that the procurement person needs to compare apples with apples and not apples with pears. So if you know the way you do things will not be the cheapest, then say that, but justify it, and know from this exercise, the why us, why that extra cost is worthwhile and adds value. Thanks. So yeah, Dan, worked with Dan Priestley. He's a great follow, and really gets this micro business SME market. And a bit like the value proposition design, all Dan's books are pretty easy to read and have the actionable stuff. Right, I'll give you just a little minute to ponder these bullet points. And then just one of the things I say just on this last bullet point, and this clearly isn't practical for everybody, reflect on how you maintain client relationships post-sales. So what is it that you do for your clients apart from what they pay you to do? Now, what are the little surprise and delights? What are the little energy ups, the unexpected things? Now, sometimes that just could be as simple as keeping them on the mailing list and sending them a newsletter every so often that has some value in it. You know, a couple of photos of what you've been up to, maybe some new technology or new things going on in your sector. That's, you know, it doesn't have to be send them chocolate cakes unless you make fabulous chocolate cakes. So quick plug for Good Cake Day. If no one's seen that, go to the website Good Cake Day, and you'll find the most extraordinary cakes being made right here in Wandsworth. So, but if you're managing those client relationships well, then they may come back faster, and also they become advocates for you in the marketplace. So if you're really clear on why you set apart, you do a good job, and you do a good job for clients, and you remind them you've done a good job, then they will go and be salespeople on your behalf. Okay. Into the next section of this. So how to structure your pitch. I'm going to give you 3 more names of books, and when we come up to the next exercise, I'll drop these in the chat as well. There's as I know, there's quite a lot of kind of literature around pitching and selling. There's so here are the 3 books that I think are really interesting as the fire alarm goes off again. The first one is called Pitch Anything by a chap called Claff, Klaff. The second one is the one-page proposal by a chap called Riley. That's very interesting for helping you structure what you do. It forces you into a framework, and that's quite a clever way of doing that exercise too. And the third one, for those that want to know kind of what the latest thinking on sales is, it's called the Jolt Effect by chaps called Dixon and McKenna. So I'll put those in the chat, but those are kind of this is a way of structuring your pitch. You'll pick up more from the books. There's more online, but the Brownman approach is this. So so the pitch needs to be logical for your buyer. Your buyer needs to understand what it is you're telling them. You need to give them a bit of a sequence. So ideally, you want some sort of opening statement that grabs their attention, that solves their problem. You then need to provide them with facts and credibility to support that big statement, and don't feel you have to push the conversation. Don't feel you have to fill the gaps. Sometimes it's okay to kind of get your information across and then just shut up. Wait for them to process the information and come back to you. Often as people are contemplating, they'll come back and they'll tell you something that will act as a bit of a clue to you. So if you give them the room for them to shape and ask their question, very much get into a more constructive conversation, and then you're able to respond to what they say, and so on, and the conversation has a natural turn, anchored around your headline, though, your big statement. So as you can go through, you're always steering towards your objective. And remember, when we've gone into this pitch, you've already worked out what it is you want from the pitch. Do you just want the next meeting, or do you want a guarantee of the work and sign on the dotted line? That's what you're driving towards. And of course, follow up is vital. So understanding what those next steps are. I think we've got this in a slightly different way, which I'm more comfortable with, this sort of left to right flow. So how to engage your buyer. So bearing in mind that a pitch is a conversation. If it's one-to-one or one-to-two, it's a conversation. You know what the topic is. You've introduced it with your solution, because that's what they're there to talk about. And then the rest of that, the rest of the meeting, once you presented that kind of wow statement or your headline or your solution, is then just making sure that that they understand that you can deliver what you've promised. So some simple things: confidence, upbeat tone, engagement. And that confidence comes from you. No one knows your business better than you. No one knows your sector better than you. And if you're talking to someone in procurement that's got responsibility for 10,000 lines of products or whatever it might be, you're the expert in your industry. So you will always know more. And if you've done your research, you know what they're going to ask you. You know what is of interest to them. You know what they need to push and prod and check. So go into these sessions with not with arrogance, but just confidence and a bit of energy. I've stuck in this second bullet point, the first 12 seconds, and it's a Dale Carnegie thing. And Dale Carnegie was a chap in the early 20th century who built a business around the fact that salesmen were getting paid a lot, and the really smart engineers weren't getting paid very much at all. And the issue was that the engineers didn't know how to sell, didn't know how to hold conversations. So he built a whole business, which continues to this day, particularly around public speaking and pitching and getting that right. And one of the big things from that world is the first 12. What are the first 12 steps you take into a room? What are the first 12 seconds of a pitch? What are the first 12 words? So I started off today with, the next hour will change how you pitch, change your business, and change your life. And I had a nice little reaction from the chat, and suddenly that's a bit different. I mean, I better pay attention here. That's a bit more than I was bargaining for. Okay, I'm in for this. Let's go with this. So what's your cool? Have you got your first 12 words? Have you got that that exercise one, that elevator pitch, that little capsule that's got a bit of a wow? You know, how are you positioning your solution in the mind of that procurement person, so they know how to differentiate you from all the rest, so they know you're different, and it's a place that you've chosen to be in. First 12 seconds, first 12 words. We even talk about the first 12 inches from the head down. So that's about turning up, looking professional, being appropriately dressed. That's not necessarily wearing a suit and tie in this day and age. But you know, if you're talking to someone who's running a budget of several millions or tens of millions, that's a proper job. So don't turn up in a sloppy tracksuit or with your breakfast spilled down it. Dress smart. You know, it doesn't need to be as if you're off to Ascot, but just make the effort. You know, for all the world is changing fast. How you look is how they will perceive your solution. It's part of this how you shop and how you present. You know, if you particularly if your positioning is, you know, we're elite and professional and slick and sophisticated, that's how you need to show up. You need to represent your brand in that way. If what you do is we're very youth friendly and unstuffy and engaging and relevant, then don't turn up in a pinstripe suit. But again, don't have your breakfast down the front of your jersey either. Four bits about engaging with your bar is being relevant to them. So you know, if they've got technical questions about the product, that's fine, and you can get into that. But what they're really looking for is what the benefits of what you bring. Is it you know, is there some innovation there? Is there enthusiasm? Is there just going that extra mile? Is it I was on a panel with Big South London where a chap from St George's Mental Health Trust talked about breaking down some of their contracts, so they had some home visit support from a small business that had local people. And he said it was really interesting. It was, you know, it was another thing to manage for them, but the quality of the feedback they got from their internal clients about how the local people were able to go the extra mile because they knew the lay of the land, they knew which bus went where. They were able to take the extra 10 minutes to help because they weren't rushing to get on a tube to go to the other side of London. Those are about benefits. You know, what are the benefits you're offering? Because that's what they want to understand, because that helps them say yes to buying you. Talked before about being a PhD in your client's problem. So you should have researched what questions you're likely to get. And if you know what you're going to get asked, have your answers ready, rehearse your answers. Now, it doesn't mean you have to kind of read out from a piece of paper, but just be confident in your answers. Remember, the confidence around the answers is the confidence in your content. It's the confidence in your business, the confidence you put in the written document, and the confidence that comes from knowing that you know your business better than anyone else, and you know the problem that you can solve. Again, conversations are better when they're two-way, but it's the old thing about you got two ears and one mouth, use them in proportion. So listen carefully to what they said. If you're not sure, ask them, say, just check in. Oh, that's dangerous. So what I think you're asking me is this. So have I understood that you're looking to get more about X? You know, check in with them if you're not sure. But build that trust. Be a listening partner. You're going to be in relationship with these people in some way if they say yes or when they say yes. So they need to know that you've got conversational and listening skills and that are going to be able to communicate with you well. And be open, honest, and truthful. It doesn't serve you not to be. If you lie about doing stuff, you will be found out, and it won't end well. So if there are things you can't do, or the things you say we can't do yet, use that growth mindset terminology. It's saying, listen, we've oh, okay, so on 4 of the 5 things, we've absolutely got loads of stories and loads of experience. This 5th one would be a new area for us, but we are confident from doing areas 1, 2, 3, 4 that we have enough skill and systems and management nous and creativity to be able to deliver to number 5. That's a way of answering something that you can't do today. And it's open, it's honest, and it's truthful, and it allows the person on the other side to go, yep, fair enough, fair enough. But don't get caught out with a whopping fib. Lastly, when you come towards the end of those meetings, this follow-up piece. So really crucial just to capture a shared understanding of the meeting. So when you got to the end, you're able to have a little summary, have a last little kind of micro pitch. It's almost a repeat of your headline pitch. You know, great to be here today to explain how we do X for Y with Z wow factor. My understanding is the next steps are going to be, you said you're going to send us this by X and we're going to send you back Z by Y. Great. And at that point, I would do 2 things. 1, get out of the meeting. That's not the point to start having a conversation about how FC Wimbledon did at the weekend or the weather or parking fines or whatever it is. You've done the business of the meeting. Leave them to get on, and then just politely, don't need to be rude, but just get your coat, get your bag, and find your own way to the lift if you can, and just get out. Don't re-engage them, because that just gives them time to get back into conversation and leaves them thinking about your offer instead of having decided on it. And remember, and this is a key one, they as a former lawyer, they definitely teach you this at law firms, which is you say nothing about your client or your prospect until you are at least 500 meters outside the front door, and probably not even then. So don't gossip in the lift with other people. Just smile and nod and get yourself out of there, and then until you're back home or back at the office, or find a distant coffee shop, and then go and have your debrief. But don't be having it on the corridor on outside the meeting room. Bad things happen that way. Not time to go into the war stories, but trust me, at the end of that pitch, that's part of the professionalism. We're summarizing what we do. We've got our next steps agreed. Thank you very much. Leave you to get on, and we'll go and do that, because we're grown-ups too. We know you've got a busy day. Thank you. And then the last bit I have room for in here is it's the old world of thank you letters. So whether it's just whatever's appropriate, whether you feel it's a text or WhatsApp or an email or even a physical handwritten note, just say, really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you about our business today. Thank you for being so welcoming, and really enjoying our engagement, and I hope we get the opportunity to work with you again. Just that little follow-up, it's a little human touch. It's sort of ebbing away a bit, but it's always lovely to get a thank you letter. It's a really, really nice human thing. So one of the bits, that's part of the sales process. So think about how you follow up just the pitch, just to thank people for the opportunity, if it's appropriate. Don't send money. Not a good thing. Right. Where are we up to now? So third exercise. So I when I do one of these webinars on value proposition and on shaping your solution specifically, one of the things we talk about there is the jargon to bust is sales enablement. What are those moments where suddenly someone has a real need for what you do, or somebody is re-looking at how they do something? So here's a little exercise, just very quickly. And if you've got one to hand, stick it in the chat. So what is a key trend affecting your industry? And there are no points for writing AI, but it's a key trend affecting many industries. But if you're going to stick AI in the chat, give me a bit more than just AI. Is it AI driving down costs of X? Tax, yes, Joel, tax. And I suspect a little more to come in November. Certainly, it's causing some some sectors to suffer a bit of lack of confidence at the moment. So key trends, and how does that impact your business? And what can you do to change that, fix that, help with that? And then again, a bit of a SWOT analysis here. What's the risk that comes with that trend, and how might you be able to respond quickly to that trend? So if it is, I don't know, so if we thought back when the Mayor of London introduced the low emission zone, you know, suddenly that's an interesting trend around provision of electrification, your plug-in charging points. It's around. There's going to be a whole ton of roadworks to put up cameras for those like Joel at Yellow Signs who has kind of signage and particularly temporary signage businesses. How do you capitalize on the trend? Who needs to know? You know, Dear X, you may be aware that this trend is coming down the line, and as part of our market overview, we reckon that you're going to have a problem in this way, and we've thought of a way to help you out with that. So just take a couple of minutes and think about, look at your market. What is driving that? What's a key trend, and what is something that you do that helps mitigate that impact of that trend? And while you're doing that, I promised to write down the 3 books, so I'll do that in the chat. So in the chat, I've just jotted down the Jolt Effect by Dixon McKenna, Pitch Anything by Claff, and the One-Page Proposal by Riley, who claims to have a very interesting backstory, and it's got a lot of examples in that book. Okay. What is interesting about this exercise is I would take it away again, go and spend some time thinking about this, but I would look at doing this every quarter. Stick it in your diary, stick a note in your diary on a recurring thing, the last Thursday of every quarter. Take an hour and just sit, and whether it's yourself or a couple of colleagues in your team, just go and think about what's really going on in our industry. What do we see? What do clients complain to us about? Use AI, use ChatGPT, Copilot, Perplexity I'm using, Grok, any of these ones, and get them to do a bit of trend analysis. Because they've got access to, clearly, a much bigger data set than you see. You know, lean on those sources. They're getting better and better week by week. Oh, you're not seeing them in the chat because I've put them in the wrong place. So let me. Thank you, Andy. I need to send it not to me. I need to send it to everyone. There we are. It was technically known as a wetware issue, which is me doing the wrong thing. And so I need to also the previous messages. Bill, yes, I'll make sure you get the attendees on the 29th. And Magda, that's the value proposition design book, comes from the Strategizer series. Right, let's crack on past exercise 3. Bit of a case study. So this is it's just looking to see how a kind of conversation unfolded. So someone's in a pitch looking at freezers and their cost of freezers. I think I can save you 9 million a year. I mean, wow, big number. Oh, blimey. So how are you going to do that? Well, I think that you spend approximately this, and I think I can do it for X. And it's not just a financial thing, but also we don't have to empty stuff, no decommissioning, no mess on site. We do it overnight, so you don't have any disruption. Is that package of a huge financial upside plus all these other benefits? Because actually, if you just take the financial upside, you've got to chip away from that. If you have to empty fridges and freezers, if you have to decommission old equipment, if you have to manage on site, if each of these installs costs £1 million because you've got all that disruption of lost sales, there may be no saving here. So if I'm sitting at the supermarket as their procurement person, these advantages are going, oh wow, you've really thought about how my world works. I need to make sure we've got constant uptime, constant product availability. So you can do that and give me a saving. Terrific. That's a really well couched pitch. Will that be of interest? Can I show you how I've got to those numbers? And then having shown the numbers, your figures are wrong. It's not 9. I think it's 12 million because he's underestimated the savings. So there we go. So I'm not sure I need to teach you how to have a conversation, but that's great. Would you like me to rework and come back with an Excel study, or when would be good for me to come back with a more precise number based on what you've told me? Is this bit of the follow-up? What next? Great. So you're interested in what I've got. You want a formal model, and you want me to do that the day after tomorrow. Excellent. Thank them for their time and depart. That's the bit about getting out. So the objective there was to get the written numbers in front of someone at the supermarket and open up that conversation towards a 10 million pounds, 25 million pounds opportunity. So I'll just about to run through the usual nuts and bolts about heading to the Meet the Buyer on the 29th. So key things to take away from here are: have a pitch, hone it, practice it. Use everything that we've done. The webinars here, they're on the YouTube channel and the council website as well. Use the conversations that you've had or are going to have with me. And the Meet the Buyer events are a great environment, almost a tame environment, because they're expecting to get pitched to. Hurrah! Use the tools, the business model canvas that we've talked about in terms of the strategizer and the value proposition design, using our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats to sit over the sort of tender opportunities and combine all those. And remember to personalize things. You are selling to a person. So what is it going to take to make them smile, or make them be able to sleep at night, or help them look better in their job? So from today and from this webinar series, again, your action plan: get a piece of paper, write down the 3 things that are going to get done, put your name against it and put a deadline against it, and stick it in your diary, and make your personal self-contract and commitment to deliver. Pick those things and just do something with this information. I think most of you are aware of the schedule. All the webinars are available on the YouTube channel. So you go to Brandwin, YouTube, and Wandsworth, or on fit2beard.co.uk. I think they're there as well. Next seminars, we've got a couple more at the end of November, bit of a break now. But the key bit is this 29th of October Meet the Buyer event. So the emails are coming to all those registered very shortly. If you haven't booked your one-to-one, useful to have that before you show up on the 29th. Here's for Burgess. The recordings are on the Brandwin YouTube channel, and there's a whole ton of those there. A lot of content, not just from this Wandsworth and Richmond program. There's the action card that we get delivered, the product of our one-to-one. The interesting stuff on the left-hand side, or one of the things we can use that for, is identifying your key challenges, talking about your value proposition, thinking about a SWOT, and for those that have got a live one, that's great to work on too. A whole ton of stuff online at fit2beard.co.uk and at Brandwin. The ebook, the digital playbook. There's a whole ton of stuff in there. So I think I also send links to that out to everyone that books their one-to-one. That's another place to get hold of that. Use that stuff. Meet the Buyer events. We've got a proven history. They work. They turn into money. And I know that we've been working with Heathrow for so long. They've now developed a Heathrow SME Academy. And that's an opportunity for you to also see what's going on in that ecosystem. Here's the right date, 29th October at the Exchange. It's a sort of a speed dating format. So come, you've got 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, you've got to micro pitch your solution and what's different about you, and you've got to come with an ask. Who is in your organization that looks after this? How do I meet these kind of people? Who in your organization might have interest in this solution delivered in this way? And how would you like to introduce me? There's also just brilliant networking. There's always a great buzz around these events. They can do it, so can you. This is part of that process. So you now got a lot of the information you need. You've got a lot of the resources that you need. So now let's go out and find those tenders, start to build those relationships so that you can develop that winning written and oral bid, that pitch. We're done, and we're out with just a few seconds to spare. Just want to thank you for your time today, and to reiterate, make it personal, do your research, but if nothing else, go and write your action points. What are the 3 things you're going to do based on what you've learned in the last hour? Thank you.